Now we will look at the planning and production cycles articulating. Speech production is a process that begins when the talker formulates the message in his or her mind to transmit to the listener via speech. Now, in this area, which is concerned with the planning and production cycles, numerous studies have been conducted and lots of researchers have looked at the planning and the cycles involved in the production stages. So they start with the very basic that speech takes into account all those aspects where the formulation of message is done, and then once it is taken care of, then it is brain sends message to the speech system, and then the articulation takes place. So what were the cycles and the process planning stages that are involved? That is what needs to be understood as far as this particular topic is concerned. Several studies have converged on the conclusion that we alternate between planning speech and implementing our plans. One of the studies conducted by Henderson and Goldman et al., they conducted a study where they found that there were cognitive cycles in the planning of speech. In particular, the phases of what they noticed that the phases of hesitant speech alternate the phases of fluent speech, and in the hesitant speech what has been noticed as the long or filled pauses, also the false starts, whereas in the fluent speech they believe that we just simply say what we have planned in the preceding hesitant state. So in the hesitant state or hesitant speech phase, we see that one feels hesitant, or that hesitant phase is filled with the pauses and false starts because the speaker is not sure and what he or she are going to say, and that phase becomes the hesitant phase, where the hesitation arises from certain cognitive processes where maybe the speaker is engaged in the internal deliberation of what he or she has to say or what he or she should not say. So on the contrary, in the fluent speech phase, we just simply say what we have planned in the preceding hesitant phase, which got sort of suspended because of the hesitation. So we will now look at some of the explanations given by the researchers. Based on number of studies that have been conducted, it has been proposed that we express a portion of our intended message, then we pause to plan the next portion, articulate that portion, pause again, and so on. So that is the notion proposed by Betty in 1983, one of the studies that were conducted by her. And according to that, one underlying reason that we tend to hesitate during speech is that linguistic planning, what needs to be uttered, is very cognitively demanding, and it is difficult to plan an entire utterance at once. That is what Lindsley proposed. So as a consequence, we typically plan only a portion of an utterance at a time. In another study, Levelt also found that pauses occurred more often before low frequency words than before high frequency words. Another study which was conducted show, and this was conducted by Ravina and Billos, that during lectures, now in another study that also conducted on the same aspect shows that during lecture humanists used more filled pauses such as oh, than social scientists or natural scientists. According to Schechter and his colleagues, the humanities have far richer vocabularies than the sciences, and thus humanists have more options during speech production, leading to more filled pauses. For example, there are no synonyms for molecule or atom, but many alternatives for beauty, affection, and prejudice are available to the humanists. Then another study where the Cross, Rocher, and colleagues have demonstrated that gestures that accompany speech may help speakers formulate coherent speech by facilitating the retrieval of elusive words from the internal lexicon. Moreover, pauses are more common when speakers are asked to speak without gesture. Another study conducted by Griffin suggests that speakers begin sentences without knowing how they will finish them. Now, this implication is that speakers do not always hesitate during the production of the sentence. Sometimes we are able to be fluent even when we have not fully prepared the sentence in advance. Again, the latest study of Griffin found that speakers, and he extended this particular findings to another study where he found that speakers took longer to begin to speak when the first noun was one syllable, such as wig, rather than multisyllabic, such as windmill. Now, it thus seemed that speakers' response time was sensitive to the fact that they could prepare the second noun, such as carrot, while articulating the first only if the first noun was 2 syllables. To conclude, speaker monologues reveal an alternation between fluent speech and hesitation pauses. Pauses are related to various linguistic variables and appear to reflect linguistic planning within the sentences.